Sustainability, sustainable use, responsible development, conservations, they're all are important components, important pillars in a blue economy. When you're balancing providing for people, for their needs socially, when you're looking at eradicating poverty in your country and a country which has natural resources, you now have to find that balance between development and the balance to know people meeting their basic needs, and also to find that balance with environmental protection and also sustainable use.
Man, I'm fishing from when I know myself. I'm 53 years old right now, and when I was like 15, 20 years, I don't gotta come too far for go fishing. The price wasn't like now, the gas is high, and the product is a little bit expensive, but it's getting lower.
Stocks are under high pressure and overfished in most regions of the world. Persons are more interested in material gain and not taking into consideration conservation measures. So in that context, that is the greatest threat.
Too much competition. The product is less and less. None of us are planting nothing out here. They're just gonna ripping out. It's obviously to every time they come, you take it out, and we don't give them no chance to like grow, because when you catch them now, they got egg. So you know how much millions we are killing out the mother and we're killing out the small. So it just sucks. You have many ways is I can do it better, right?
The OETS project is a UN-implemented project that really seeks to assist and support developing countries to better understand and analyze what ocean-based economic sectors we have out there and how we can enhance and strengthen those sectors while ensuring that sustainability factor is also considered. The OETS project has 3 phases, the first being assessment and formulation, the second being validation, and the third being dissemination.
The pillars of sustainable development we know as economic development, social development, and environmental. In addition to that, governance as well as the need for scientific research were identified as critical. In terms of governance, we've already signed on to all of the major conventions that relate to the management and conservation of fisheries resources. For example, the United Nations Convention of the Law of the Sea.
Uno de los factores más importantes para lograr un desarrollo sostenible es el que se trabaje al lado de los pescadores.
tardes, mi nombre es Oscar Barahona para servirle. Hay pérdidas, hay viajes buenos, viajes malos, y a raíz de los precios que suben y bajan y a veces ganamos bien, a veces ganamos mal, y no es todo el tiempo que se gana dinero.
Como parte de la industria pesquera, los más interesados en que la actividad se desarrolle de manera sostenible para que pueda perdurar en el tiempo, somos los que nos encontramos en ella.
Goal really is for us to add value to our stable, commercially important products. We also have multi-species finfish management plan.
La marca colectiva que se ha diseñado en conjunto para efectos de demostrar transparencia, inocuidad, trazabilidad, el desempeño social y ambiental que esto podría generar a todas las comunidades costeras y acuicultores.
The full implementation of the OETS project can lead to Barbados, particularly as a small island developing state, accessing large international markets that it doesn't currently access.
Activity is still ongoing. However, that activity is also highlighting some of the problems that our stakeholders continue to experience, especially given the effects of COVID-19 and climate change.
Knowledge exchange was a key part of the OETS project. We cannot speak about managing a natural resource without local knowledge. It is one of the underlying pillars that has been able to build the capacity at the local level. Without the knowledge, the buy-in, the support of local fishermen, it would nearly be impossible to be able to achieve these major milestones.
En este momento estamos en Costa de Pájaro, en el área marina de pesca responsable. Bueno, nosotros como conocimiento tradicional de los pescadores aportamos un granito de arena para poder visualizar el área marina de pesca responsable acá en Costa de Pájaro. Para nosotros es muy importante la actividad de la pesca porque se benefician nuestra familia y para nosotros el sector pesquero todos somos familias.
Ancestors did a really good job in the conservation of forests and what happened inland. The ocean needs a little bit of help. That's a big mission, but it's accomplishable and we're getting small steps towards it.
It's something that we have to approach collectively as a global community.
It's a matter of, continuing to build that capacity, continuing to build that network, that relationship with other countries in Caribbean region, in Central America, so that we can learn from what they are doing, so that they can learn from what we are doing.
We have challenges. We don't have the kind of resources. We don't have the infrastructure. We also have limitations in terms of capacity. Countries need the support and the assistance of more developed countries and the international community to help us meet these global goals. We need to have these things in place for us as a people to continue to have healthy ecosystems, resilient resources, especially with climate change being a huge factor, and also for us to be able to have resources that our people can continue to benefit from, and for us to continue as a people. We're people who have been using the resources, and we want to be able to continue to do that.
The iconic sound of the Queen Conch signals many things across the Caribbean. For some, particularly in the OECS territories of Grenada, St. Lucia, and St. Vincent and the Grenadines, it is the call of opportunity.
You could pay your bills, feed your family.
My dad, that is what he does up to this day, and send all of us to school, and even grandchildren now is going to school from that industry as well.
In October 2020, the OECS, in collaboration with the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development and CITES, launched the Blue Biotrade Project. It was financed by the European Union through the RIGHT program.
I want to situate this in the context of the OECS Commission's work plan. Our strategic work plan for this triennium includes a strategic objective of reinventing our economy in the context of the devastation to our economies caused by the pandemic and all climate change and all the other crises that we have been assaulted by.
The Blue Biotrade Project aims to empower fishers and small-scale coastal operators from Grenada, St. Lucia, and St. Vincent and the Grenadines to produce and trade Queen Conch responsibly.
We need to understand that in biodiversity, sustainability is important so that those benefiting from the activity or in the activity can continue doing that for generations.
The Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species of Wild Fauna and Flora, popularly known as CITES, provides guidance on the sustainable management of this invaluable resource.
In terms of conch, once you're exporting the meat, you would require a CITES permit from St. Lucia. If you are importing it, you would require a CITES permit from the country of origin.
The three pillars of CITES is to ensure that international trade in CITES-listed species is legal, sustainable, and traceable.
The information gathered through Phase 1 of the Blue Biotrade Project is being studied and incorporated into an action plan for the advancement of the Queen Conch industry. Key to future success is an ongoing stock assessment to determine what corrective measures need to be implemented.
What we're seeing with the fishers that we interviewed so far is that they're having to go deeper and deeper and on longer dives to catch the same amount of conch.
Most times about 80 to 100 feet, but there are places where that you have to go to about 115, 120 feet sometimes.
We know that we have been seeing some degradation in the habitats.
The silt from development on land affects the grass, the seagrass, which they live on.
Presently, the queen conch is also under threat due to issues such as overfishing and climate change. The queen conch is widely regarded as a delicacy, and many believe there is potential to explore new ways of enjoying the seafood regionally and internationally.
Every part of the conch can be used. The shell can be used for ornaments, to make beads.
It can be used to make carbon neutral cement. It also can be used to make artificial reefs.
I had called far as India. They make buttons and necklaces.
In 2020, conch made up 62.7% of St. Vincent's exported fish and fish products.
We ship, as I mentioned, to Dubai.
Our main markets is in the US. We move anywhere from 5 to 10,000 pounds by monthly.
In Miami presently, a pound of conch is $30 US.
We are actually stepping into not unknown territory, because for years fisher folk have done their thing, but moving it to a new level of sophistication, a new level of value, and a new level of prosperity.
Plastic has never been more popular, in a negative way. The pollution it causes is everywhere. Surface and underground water, in forests, in the air, and in animals, in their digestive systems, and even in the bloodstreams of us humans in the form of microparticles. But have you ever stopped to think that every micro comes from a macro? We are talking about objects and structures that surround us and that have in their composition plastics, PP, PET, BOPP, HDPE, and many others. They are affordable and make our lives more comfortable and convenient. But the large amount consumed and discarded daily has become a global problem. Besides the lack of capacity of waste management systems, which very often cannot deal with all that is produced for consumption, there are climatic, cultural, economic, and geographical factors that make the return of plastic to its production chain very difficult. The world trades $1.2 trillion worth of plastic materials and products every year in the form of polymers, intermediate and finished products, or even as scrap.
Plastic pollution is becoming a worldwide problem. Plastic is everywhere. We produce more than 360 million metric tons of plastic every year. We trade about $1 trillion in products related to plastics, from primary to final products, and 75% of all that production, all that trade, becomes waste.
It's hard to think how humanity once lived without them. However, we must relearn how to use less plastics, and most importantly, use them in a better way. What if we turn our attention to analyzing the life cycle of plastics? Dealing with plastic pollution requires actions across the value chain and at various levels. The very first step? We should all aim to produce and use less plastics than we do today. But when using them is unavoidable, at least we should use better plastics. At the production stage, to promote alternative plastics, especially those made from recovered materials or bioplastics, which are made from organic matter, such as crop residues. It can be a good alternative for industries in which plastic usage is very important for human health, such as food preservation and medical sectors. Additionally, bioplastics have less carbon emissions, helping in the fight against climate change. At the transformation stage, we can work with our industries to use more material substitutes, such as jute, cotton, marine or mineral products, instead of plastics. We need to keep in mind that substitutes also leave environmental footprints, so their adoption needs careful study. We must seek to reuse, better manage, and transform residues into useful products.
Shopping bags made of plastic that we use only once are one of the major environmental concerns when we talk about single-use plastics. Many people are considering substitutes based on natural fibers, which in principle can be better for the environment and generate jobs in many countries. As an example, in Zambia, we noticed that the production of paper and paper products is very important for the local economy. This made us think that paper bags could be good alternatives to the plastic ones. But the question that remained was, are paper bags really better environmentally speaking than plastic bags? To find an answer, we did a life cycle assessment to compare a paper bag against a high-density polyethylene bag, considering that both are single-use products. The first one is that paper bags are heavier than plastic bags. This affects particularly the impacts that occur in the transport stages and at the end of life of the paper bags. The second reason is that craft paper production is very energy demanding and results in many emissions and effluents. The third reason is that wood pulp production depends on forestry, which incurs land use and consumes large amounts of water for irrigation. Substituting single-use plastics with other kinds of single-use products, even if they are based on natural fibers, is not always a good idea.
As a contribution to this important issue, the SMEP program is sponsoring 9 projects on plastics in Africa and in South Asia. Those projects showcase what can be done, and also we are producing a deeper analysis on material substitutes that can replace single-use plastics.
Projects from initiatives such as SMEP, as well as those supported under the Basel Convention, and by various business, national, and multilateral organizations, all show that the plastic challenge can be overcome if all stakeholders cooperate and the rules are set right, within and across countries. That makes a table stable.
In less than 2 years, the dialogue on plastics pollution at the World Trade Organization has made some remarkable advancements. From mapping the over $1 trillion in plastics traded globally every year, to identifying existing gaps in transparency of the transboundary movements of plastics, to enhancing collaboration with other institutions working on the issue. One thing that has become clear is that the WTO offers a unique forum where trade and environmental officials can come together and identify ways in which trade and trade policies can be a key part of the solution to the growing environmental, social, health, and economic challenges posed by plastic pollution.
The plastic pollution that we deal with comes from different areas in the world, and I'm referring in particular to Galapagos, but also to terrestrial ecosystems. That's why we believe that to global challenges we need, of course, global responses. And we coordinate here at the WTO the dialogue on plastic pollution, together with Australia, Barbados, Fiji, China, and Morocco.
In March 2022, at the United Nations Environmental Assembly, member states agreed to develop an international global treaty on plastic pollution, including in the marine environment. And this is really important because we have industry, political, and civil society momentum on this topic like never before.
At the World Trade Organization, members of the Dialogue on Plastics are doing just that, with the goal of contributing to the UN Environment Assembly process towards a global treaty against plastic pollution by 2024. UNCTAD, with the support of the United Kingdom, is helping in this important global transition away from single-use plastics.
What does it mean? That instead of using plastic, we need to use materials of plant or mineral origin, such as bamboo, such as sisal, such as jute, such as bagasse, such as aluminum, such as glass. Materials that by nature can be biodegradable, compostable, or recyclable, and even can produce some waste, but it will be the type of waste that developing countries will be able to absorb and managed under their systems for waste disposal. We believe that by substituting, we are getting into a faster transition from a plastic-free economy.
Want to know more? Visit our dashboard for a complete overview and data access resulting from the work of the SMEP program.
Sailing has been my long time passion since I was a kid, and I made my first dhow while I was in school. So for me to start this recycled plastic flip-floppy project is to make people understand how problem of this plastic is affecting our world, is affecting our mother body, is affecting ourselves. So we need to make a change.
The flip-floppy project was born on the Lamu archipelago. It's a beautiful set of islands on the Indian Ocean. The initial idea was to build a boat out of recycled plastic, the first recycled sailing dhow. And it's a positive story born off this continent that has global implications.
This is our first prototype boat, recycled plastic dhow. This is a pure recycled plastic which we collected in our beaches and our environment and recycle them and make the lumbers and put them in the dhow. Ribs, planks, the keel, everything is recycled.
Now this boat, we went on expeditions and it basically had a domino effect on many things, and it created not only the movement but led to creating the whole waste management on this small set of islands here. But also a training center, research-driven innovation on plastic.
We have islands that are just, inundated with plastic and all sorts of other wastes. We have a lot of single-use plastics that shouldn't be there in the first place, but are there, and people depend on them. It's very complicated to think about what to do with them. So by us building the boat and wanting to do it properly, it means that we have to do it properly right from the beginning. And the beginning essentially is avoiding it ending up in the open areas, oceans, dump sites, being burnt in the mangroves. How do we stop that happening?
So Flip-Floppy is a circular economy project, and what we're attempting to do is work with shoreline communities to help understand how they can deal with plastic pollution problems. And that requires looking at the entire value chain. So that requires collection or recovery of plastic from the ecosystem, mangroves and beaches, processing here at our facility, and then adding value.
You can see this area could be a lot of new mangrove seedling coming up, but they cannot grow it anymore because all the ground is being covered by plastic. Single-use plastic for the ice cream, water bottles, the most are the single-use plastic. Lot of Coca-Cola pieces, sodas, because every mangrove it produces hundreds of seedling, but when they shoot down, if the area is dirty, is covered with plastic, nothing is coming up. The moment it dies, the mangrove is the end of it.
It's not that people want to just throw these things out. They don't have a choice. And let's start by really confronting what that means. When it's ending up in our mangroves, yes, there might be some open dumping from the local villages, etc. But this is the open ocean, and we all know it now. There are gyres the size of, Texas that are out there in the Pacific Ocean. How did it end up there in the first place? You can't decouple it from the social injustice that it exposes you to. The Lamu archipelago reveals the state of humanity in many places. Just because you don't see it, it doesn't mean the problem doesn't exist. We're seeing it, and it does exist.
So there's a triple planetary crisis that the UN defines as the challenges caused by climate change, biodiversity loss, and environmental pollution. And I see plastic waste at the intersection of all of that, and the Lamu ecosystem at the intersection of that. But as long as we continue producing and consuming the way that we do, like at a global level, it's communities like Lamu that get the most affected. What we found like once we started was that there was not any appropriate systems or infrastructure for waste. So what we've been trying to do is through policy push for waste systems and waste infrastructure. But in the meantime, there's a need to address the waste which is being generated or which is coming in with the tides. So we're incentivizing recovery. So basically, then we'll pay according to the kilograms of the plastic. And it's just a way to incentivize like the continuous collection, continuous cleanups.
So often you will find there's like people have been collecting a lot in different areas, but they haven't gotten yet the knowledge on how to separate it, and maybe it's too much to actually bring it here first. So we send our people out there to actually sort the plastic, which is sort of a double good effect because it makes sure that the plastic, when it comes here, it's already sorted, and it builds capacity on the other side that the groups actually know how they can now continue collecting the plastic, so they learn also about the types and how to separate it. Sometimes using our boat, sailing in best case, so we don't even need our electric engine.
Here we have the flip-floppy project recycling facility. Here we actually have flakes that be washed in the washing machine over there, which we actually dry on the roof up here. Inside this building here, we actually have the extrusion equipment, and these bags here is all material ready to be processed in the recycling and extrusion centre.
So the waste that we take is processed here at our facility, and we create lumber or planks, which are basic building blocks for anything, boats or furniture. And we have traditional craftsmen here who are putting it together, who are carving it, molding it into like really beautiful things. But we also have like a younger generation of students who are learning from them and learning not just the craftsmanship itself, but the theory on circular economy and how that combines into what we're doing. So understanding the cause and also the solution.
We are now working on a prototype for a 24-meter ocean-going sailing dhow, made up of 100% recycled plastic lumber.
Plastic essentially is problematic because of how we've managed it and how we've abused it. Now, the completion of building the big boat, to me, is the journey of completing everything that's behind it. Do we have the right policies in place? Do we manage waste in place? How can we redesign things? Are these plastics usable? So a building of a boat from this problematic material and doing it properly means getting everything that goes into it correct as well. And we as an organization advocate for a world without single-use plastics. If it can't be reused, and by reused I mean it really has to be fully circular, at every level, then it shouldn't exist in the first place.
By training people all these different skills, we basically also just create this pool of skilled people who can go out there, be trainers, be educators, be builders and innovators, and spread the message further. What excites me about this big boat is not only that we will show technically, we will have innovated, we will have done it, but when it's going out there, it will be a moving training center, a moving toolkit, a moving learning on the innovation and research that we have done, and bring that to other areas.
My hope, if people get to understand our vision and mission, then is to have a world without unnecessary single-use plastic.
Bonjour, je m'appelle Jean-Marie Lebuan, je suis le directeur de la Fédération nationale des paniers de la mer. La Fédération nationale est une association qui regroupe 5 autres structures. Nos objectifs, c'est de récupérer les invendus de poissons dans les criées sur les ports français, de les faire travailler dans des chantiers d'insertion pour aider des salariés, des personnes éloignées de l'emploi à retrouver un travail et à lever des freins à l'embauche, et de redistribuer le poisson une fois qu'il est préparé, conditionné, surgelé, aux associations d'aide alimentaire en France pour permettre à des personnes qui ne mangent pas à leur faim d'avoir des produits sains et de bonne qualité.
I'm Helena Abreu. I am the president of the International Seaweed Association Council. Our organization exists since the early 90s. It's a global organization that works to foster applied seaweed research and to develop the innovation and collaboration among the stakeholders in the seaweed sector. We represent large industries, but also small entrepreneurs and, of course, researchers. One of our main missions has been to organize the International Seaweed Symposium since 1952, which is a conference that gathers over 500 people talking about the seaweed sector every 3 years.
I'm Vincent Doumézel, Senior Advisor at the United Nations Global Compact and Head of the Global Seaweed Coalition, the first ever global platform of seaweed stakeholders gathering more than 2,000 members worldwide. We are the voice of the growing seaweed industry, trying to represent this source of food, fertilizers, biopackaging, restoring biodiversity, sequestering carbon, and alleviating poverty. So we try to represent the seaweed industry all around the world, support this nascent industries through funding. So we leverage on what is very likely the greatest untapped resource we have on the planet to help addressing the main challenges we have in the upcoming years.
Hello, my name is Anindya Mukherjee, co-founder of GoPHA. PHA stands for polyhydroxyalkanoids. These are renewable, completely biodegradable, and of course, compostable and recyclable materials. There are numerous products that can be made from these materials. For example, what you see over here, coral restoration, fishing nets, and even everyday use materials like diapers or wet wipes and single-use plastics, a lot of which ends up in the oceans eventually as pollution. All of these materials, if they were to be made by PHA, essentially, even if they were polluted or leaked to the environment, they would biodegrade much faster than any other plastic without leaving any microplastics.
Hi, my name is Catherine and I lead sustainability at Shellwork. We're a London-based biomaterials company that's working to eliminate plastic pollution through the advancement of natural materials. We create materials that are designed to disappear, that are actually made by microorganisms in a fermentation process, and they grow up with natural material in their cell that we can extract and use to create materials that look and feel quite a lot like plastic, but are actually completely natural and are biodegradable. These materials, when they find themselves in a natural soil or marine environment, like a home compost, they are naturally biodegraded by the microorganisms. Currently, we are working with a range of brands in the personal care and beauty space to create packaging that will never become waste.
My name is Dipesh Babari. I'm one of the co-founders of the Flip Floppy project, based on the Lamu archipelago in the Western Indian Ocean on the north coast of Kenya. We've been setting up a viable circular economy for waste plastics recovered and collected from around the archipelago, and building a model that is ultimately based upon the heritage of the community, so that the indigenous culture and craftsmanship is at the center of our model. We've had to establish an entire recovery system throughout the archipelago that's relevant and pertinent to those particular different communities, and set up a recycling facility, the only one in the entire county, as well as the upcycling of it by making furniture, traditional furniture, and artisanal boats that are essentially part and parcel of the community's heritage and trade.
My name is Emma Alderson. I am from Catch Green. We have developed a biodegradable fishing net, and we are part of the Smith program. And this week we are exhibiting at the 5th Oceans Forum in Geneva. The material is developed specifically for marine applications, and it has 3 benefits. First, it is a material that has higher density than traditional materials in fishing gear, so we would have sink to the bottom of the ocean if it's lost, so we will prevent ghost fishing. When it biodegrades without microplastics, so we have a reduction in microplastic pollution. And from a waste management perspective, it is very problematic and difficult to recycle fishing gear, and these kind of nets you can compost in countries that have composting facilities, and in countries that incinerate waste, you can incinerate. We have had very good piloting results from seaweed farms in Kenya, where we have seen that there's been even an increase in seaweed mass production. We're piloting gill nets, which is a really problematic net generally in the African coastlines. And we see that the fishermen see no difference in the type of fish they fish. So very good results. At this stage, we're also going into pilots in Norway, Canada. It is essential that we pilot them in different climates because these materials will last and behave differently in different types of marine environment.
The idea for the Port Endeavour game first came about during a 2019 expert meeting in Geneva as a creative way to engage port professionals so they can adapt their business and day-to-day operations to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Port Endeavour was created using goldmine database of port sustainability projects implemented in ports around the world. This role-playing game compels players to make decisions port managers make in real life, keeping in mind strategic goals and fostering their resilience to unpredictable events.
Welcome to the game, the Port Endeavour game. I mean, you could see really in action here. We have 16 from 9 different countries, including our port partners here in Las Palmas, the island, Northern Ireland, and you could see the enthusiasm, the commitment towards the game, and it's with real passion they're making decisions on investment and trying to make the port sustainable.
How great to have again the opportunity to play Port Endeavour with such a diverse international environment of people. Real pleasure as always to work together with UNCTAD and APEC. This week, really the training focuses on ports from Africa and Southeast Asia, and it's fantastic to see the enthusiasm and the engagement that Port Endeavour creates within port professionals.
To further the impact of the game, Train for Trade adapted it in 3 languages. Played by over 1,000 participants from all continents, Port Endeavour has been instrumental in transforming port communities worldwide. In 2023, Train for Trade further innovated the game by developing the digital version of Port Endeavour.
Very interesting atmosphere, people going very interactive on the sustainability challenges that they have to choose. And because now we have this first hybrid version, it also allows the moderators of the game to enter into a more interesting dynamic with the participants.
The Port Endeavour game makes United Nations SDGs attainable. Players become ambassadors of the development goals, and through this we have joyfully watched port professionals scale up their efforts to implement solutions in their own port communities. They play with their hearts and are excited to implement concrete, sustainable solutions, hoping to touch the lives of many.
fait la pêche et nous sommes à peu près au moins une centaine comme ça ici à ce endroit qui s'intéressent à la pêche. Effectivement, la pêche artisanale que nous pratiquons, nous n'avons pas les matériels industriels, mais nous nous débrouillons avec ce que nous avons sous la main. Nous partons en mer souvent avec les rames et souvent aussi on va avec, pour celui qui a un peu moins, peut s'acheter un moteur pour aller en mer. Quand nous arrivons comme ça, d'autres frères viennent nous aider à faire sortir la pirogue de l'eau. Puisqu'on n'a pas un quai pour pouvoir coster. Chacun aide son ami. Moi, tu m'as aidé. Quand toi viens aussi, je t'aide à faire sortir la pirogue. C'est comme ça. Sinon, nous allons jusqu'à 25 km de la côte, à 30 km de la côte. Souvent même, nous croisons des bateaux qui viennent d'autres nationalités et ils font des grandes pêches, ils puisent même la mer, les poissons du pays même. Il y a les parties même où ils ne doivent pas passer, même draguer même. Ils viennent, ils draguent. Où les poissons se reproduisent, ils viennent, ils draguent. Avant, on en gagnait plus. Mais maintenant, c'est difficile, mais nous faisons avec ça. Ma femme, elle est marieuse. Quand j'envoie le poisson, c'est elle qui prend et puis elle revend.
Moi et ma mari, on a 5 enfants qu'on nourrit à partir du poisson. Avec le poisson, on les met à l'école. Quand nos maris reviennent de la pêche, ils nous livrent le poisson. Quand ils nous donnent le poisson, on fait le prix en fonction du prix. Maintenant, on le met dans les congélateurs et puis maintenant, on livre à nos clients. C'est comme ça que le commerce se passe. Quand il y en a assez, on met dans les camions, on loue des camions et on envoie ça sur d'autres villes. On souhaite que ça puisse changer, puisque ça puisse grandir, on veut que ça puisse prospérer. Bon, c'est les moyens qui nous manquent.
No se vale hacer pesca indiscriminada y no se vale tampoco hacer conservación con hambre. Son dos cosas que no van. Las áreas marinas son un espacio geográfico en el mar donde los pescadores de las comunidades damos, con nuestro conocimiento tradicional, damos unas normas a seguir de qué podemos hacer y por qué en ciertas áreas. Diciembre, enero y febrero los enfocamos en el camarón blanco. Después lo dejamos caído, no vamos al camarón blanco, sino vamos sobre el robalo. Y ya cuando llega octubre, noviembre y diciembre, dejamos la cabrilla y el pargo y nos dedicamos más al dorado. Entonces vamos haciendo una rotación. En el momento que diversificamos las especies, también estamos ayudando a la conservación.
Su principal fortaleza ha sido el encontrar soluciones con otras flotas pesqueras. Por ejemplo, uno de los ejemplos más interesantes, la negociación entre la pesca local, artesanal y la pesca semi-industrial. Ambas flotas llegaron a un acuerdo de alejamiento, de ordenamiento espacial marino que permitió que los recursos se empezaran a recuperar y permitió a la flota artesanal poder hacer un uso sostenible de una manera más rápida.
La recuperación del recurso marino para nosotros es muy importante porque es lo que nosotros sabemos hacer. Si no hay pescados, no podríamos trabajar. Muchos jóvenes vienen para arriba con esa profesión de ser pescadores. Hay que cuidar y preservar el recurso marino. Después del área ya comenzaron a haber más recursos, entonces los pescadores comenzaron a traer gente a pescar, o venía gente aquí a contratar a los pescadores para que los viniera a traer a hacer turismo de pesca.
Después de tantos años de lucha, tan solamente ver una familia que llegue, recoge unas almejas y puede llevar ese sustento a su casa, es como que se me hubiera ganado $1 millón. Creo que eso es lo que lo hace feliz a uno en el corazón.